"The boy's eyes are mine," the man whispered, and the word mine didn't sound like a claim or a threat. It sounded like a memory, soft as dust, old as the road. The mother froze, holding her child close, her fingers trembling against the back of his small shirt. She had come a long way for answers. She had not expected to hear that sentence first. They were standing in the shade outside a single quiet storefront, where the desert wind pushed grit along the curb like a slow river. The boy pressed his cheek to her shoulder and blinked, his lashes catching the light. In his gaze there was a color that didn't belong to the town they left behind. It belonged out here under a bigger sky. And the man an elder from the Apache. Community saw it like a sign you only recognize if you've spent a lifetime listening. He didn't reach for the boy. He only nodded as if he understood something he'd been waiting to understand. "You came because of him," he said. "Because a story reaches for him. Because a promise once made hasn't been kept." The mother swallowed. She didn't want to cry in front of a stranger. But the road, the heat, the hope each breath pressed hard. She had a folded paper in her pocket and a name she didn't say out loud. She had a photograph creased at the corners, showing a smile that never had time to grow into a life. She had a boy who slept at night with his hand open, as if he was ready to hold on to something when it finally arrived. "I came because I don't want to lie to him," she said. "I came because he's already asking what the truth is. He looks in the mirror and says he belongs to somewhere I can't name." The elder studied the child. Kind eyes, weathered face. A silver thread of hair caught the sun at his temple. Beads at his wrist, worn smooth. He stood with the careful stillness of someone who knows that silence is not empty, only full of things not yet said. When he spoke again, he used a voice as quiet as the first time a creek breaks ice in spring. "He belongs to the same place you do," he said. "To people. To care. But I know what you mean. There is more to carry. Come." They followed him along the edge of town, where pavement gave up and the earth kept going. A dust devil danced far off, thin and playful, leaving no mark. The boy squinted toward rust-colored hills. The mother's steps were slow. She wondered if she was doing a brave thing or a foolish one. She wondered if bravery and foolishness were sometimes the same road seen from different ends. It was. "A simple note," she said as they walked. "No signature. No return address. Only the words you said. The boy's eyes are mine." And a line below it. "Come to the place where the cottonwood splits and the water hides, and you will know why." The elder stopped and looked back at her, something like surprise and grief passing across his face. "Words can be borrowed," he said. "But they are never empty. Show me the note." She took the paper from her pocket. He didn't touch it, only leaned close. The boy leaned too, curious. The handwriting was careful but not steady, as if written by a hand that healed from brokenness and learned to write again. The elder closed his eyes a moment, and when he opened them, the air felt different. "Whoever wrote this asked you to. Trust your feet," he said. "We will go to the cottonwood. If we find only roots and shade, then you will rest there and go home. If we find what I think we will find, you will still rest, but you will not be able to go home the same." The mother nodded. She had expected riddles. She had expected doors that opened at the pace of patience. The boy tugged at her sleeve and pointed to a hawk in the high blue. He made a soft sound of wonder. The elder smiled at that sound, the kind of smile people make when they see a familiar piece of tomorrow arrive early. "We tell stories where I'm from," he said as they walked. "But not like some think. Not to make magic where there is none, and not to make people into ghosts. We tell stories to carry what actually happened across time. We tell them so the young know where to step. We tell them to remind the old that the next step still matters. Your son already knows a story is calling him." The wind rose, then fell. Somewhere, a dog barked once and stopped. The path narrowed into a wash where a thin vein of water moved under crusted sand. The elder stooped, touched the ground with his palm, then looked to the hills again as if listening for a name, the mother thought, of the day she found the photo in the back of a drawer. The boy's father had left before the boy learned to crawl. No fight, no final scene. Just a missing shape where a person should be. People told her to be angry. Some days she was. But anger never answered questions. It never told the boy why his eyes held a horizon he hadn't seen dot at the edge of the wash. The elder paused. "We will stop for a moment," he said. "Let the land catch up to our breathing." They sat on a flat rock still warm from the sun. The boy touched a small smooth stone and rolled it in his palm. The mother watched the elder's face. She wanted to ask if he knew the man from the photo. She wanted to say the name. But he spoke first. "Long before I had gray in my hair," he said, "a young man came through here with more questions than days to answer them. He said he was looking for a place where he wouldn't feel like a visitor in his own life. He was bright, restless. He had a laugh that sounded like it belonged to a bigger room. He also had grief he did not know what to do with. He spent time with us, listened more than he talked. Then he was gone. People said he left to do right by someone he loved. People also said he didn't know how to do that yet." The mother looked down. Her fingers found the seam of her pocket. She knew how stories work. They don't always say what you want when you want. They circle until you are ready. The boy leaned against her knee, eyes big. "The cottonwood," the elder said, standing again. "Not far now." They walked until the path widened to a small valley where a tree rose up from a stubborn, hidden spring. Its trunk split into a wide V, and the leaves made a soft sound like talking in another room. The place did not feel secret. It felt patient. The mother held her breath. "There," the elder said, pointing to the base of the split trunk. A tin box sat half buried in the soil, held by roots, the lid rusted at the edges. Not hidden, not obvious. The boy drew near, and the elder held up a hand. "May I?" he asked the mother, and when she nodded, he knelt and brushed the dirt away with careful fingers. He lifted the box like it might carry something that remembered. Painted inside was a strip of leather, a folded scrap of cloth, a small carved bird, and a note wrapped in plastic. The elder did not touch the note first. He touched the carved bird, tracing the wings with his thumb. He set it in the boy's palm. "A hawk," he said, "to watch over you when you look far." The boy held the bird with both hands. He didn't speak. His eyes had the look a child gets when a room full of adults stops pretending they don't understand what matters. The mother's throat tightened. "Please," she said, "read it." The elder unfolded the note. He read silently at first. Then his lips moved with the words, slow and steady, and the boy watched his mouth like it was telling a lullaby. "If you are reading this," the elder said out loud at last, "then the years have done what years do. They have taken and given. They have turned my voice into one more thing the wind carries. I left a part of myself in this place because this place held me when I was trying not to break. If a boy is with you, tell him I tried to be brave and I didn't always know how. Tell him his eyes are mine not because I own him, but because I recognize the way he sees. He sees forward and back at the same time. He carries love like a map." The mother covered her mouth. The elder paused. The boy's fingers tightened around the carved bird. The world narrowed to the whisper of cottonwood leaves and the slow beat of 3 hearts. "Read all of it," the mother said, her voice thin. The elder nodded. "There is more," he said gently. "But we will go one line at a time." He read the next part. It spoke of a winter by the river, a working crew on the highway, a small roadside diner where the coffee was always too strong, and the kindness always exact. It spoke of a meeting that was not planned and a smile that settled like shade at noon. It spoke of fear, not as something that makes villains, but as something that makes people small until they find a way to grow. Again, it spoke of a promise that was meant to be kept and a road that pulled a man away before he learned how to turn back. The mother listened without blinking. Her eyes burned. She did not argue with the paper. Paper cannot argue back. She did not forgive yet. Forgiveness has its own time. But she recognized the shape of the truth. She knew it when she saw it. The elder's voice did not judge the man who wrote the words. It did not excuse him either. It let the words be what they were, a path left for a child to find when the child was old enough to walk it. The boy looked from the note to the elder to the tree. He pressed the carved hawk against his chest. "Is he here?" he asked, small and steady. The elder lowered the note. He took a long breath. "He is not here in the way you mean," he said. "And yet, he is here in the ways that matter and don't end, in the care people carry for you, in the stories that make sure you don't have to build a life without a history." The mother's tears came then, quiet and clean. She did not hide them. She pulled the boy into her lap and held him so he could still see the note, so he could still be big and small at the same time. "We came," she whispered into his hair. "We came so you could know." The elder gently lifted the last fold of the paper. His eyes flicked to the bottom. The final lines were written in a firmer hand, as if the writer had found what he needed to say and wanted to make sure it stayed. "Tell him," the elder read, "that if he wants to find me, he should follow the river where it disappears and listen for drums that don't demand anything, only invite. Tell him to ask for the one who never learned to run far without running back. Tell him I will be where the hills open like a door. Tell him I know the word sorry is small, and I am trying to make it larger with my life." The mother held the boy's fist, the one still clutching the bird. The elder folded the note and did not put it back in the box. He gave it to her. "It's yours now," he said. "Words are for carrying." "What do we do?" she asked, and she hated the way her voice sounded, like she was asking the earth to decide for her. But the truth is that sometimes we do ask the earth. Sometimes we ask a person who has stood long enough to hear it answer. The elder looked to the line of hills, where the light turned copper. "If you choose," he said, "we will follow the river. It won't look like a river at first. It will look like dry ground where water remembers how to move. We will listen, like the note says. We will ask, not to demand. To be welcomed, the way any guest is welcomed, with care and with a chance to offer care back." He turned to the boy. "Do you want to go?" he asked, not the mother. The child. The boy nodded, very small, very serious. He wiped the back of his hand across his cheek, though no tears had fallen. He stood and tucked the carved hawk into his pocket, the carved wing peeking out like a promise. He reached for the elder's hand and then for his mother's and held them both, as if he could hold two worlds together by the simple act of touching. They left the box under the cottonwood. They took the note. The path away from the tree felt like a bridge that built itself under their feet. The mother looked back once and saw the leaves flicker and thought she heard something like a low drumbeat far away. Not a warning, not a call to fight, only a heartbeat outside her chest reminding her that they were not the first to walk this way and would not be the last. As they moved toward the kid outside her chest reminding her that they were not the first to walk this way and would not be the last. As they moved toward the moss. As they moved toward the river that didn single quotes t looked like river. The elder told small stories about a boy taught to watch for cloud shadows on the ground and how they tell you the shape of wind. About a grandmother who sang to sprout corn as if it were already tall. About a teacher who used to say that belonging is not a brittle thing. It bends to hold more people than you think, as long as you treat it with respect. These were not entertainment. They were guideposts you can put in your pocket and use later. The sun leaned toward evening. The mother felt the edge of worry and hope touch in her chest, and it made a feeling like a new door. She thought of what the note had called sorrow and how the letter wanted to make it larger with life. She did not know if she believed in that yet, but she believed in the boys. Warm hand and in the way the elder did not hurry their steps. She believed that the ground beneath them had carried many feet and did not favor one over another, so long as those feet tried to learn the rhythm of care. When they reached the place where the river vanished into stone, the air changed, cooler, quieter. The ground did not look wet, but when the boy pressed his palm to it, he smiled. "It's cold," he said, surprised, as if he'd touched the shadow of water and found it real. "Here," the elder said, and his voice dropped even lower, not out of fear, but out of respect. "This is where the note pointed us. We will wait. We will listen. We will not take a step that is not ours to take." They sat. The boy closed his eyes. The mother felt a tremble under her ribs. She listened the way you listen for your name. In a crowd alert, honest, half-worried you'll miss it, half-worried you won't. The wind moved across the stones. A faint rhythm rose from somewhere below, steady as a hand on a drum. Not a performance, a presence. The elder bowed his head. "If they welcome us, we will go forward," he said. "If they ask us to wait, we will wait. If they ask us to leave, we will leave and come another way another time. This is how we do this with care." The boy's eyes opened, wide and shimmering. He looked past the elder's shoulder to the bend where the canyon narrowed and the light stacked itself into thin, bright sheets. His lips parted. He pointed, but his hand shook as if the world had stepped closer and whispered his name. "What? Do you see?" the mother asked, holding her breath. The boy didn't answer. He stood, slow, the carved hawk knocking against his knee in his pocket. He took one step forward and then another, and the drumbeat under the earth grew just enough to make the small hairs rise along the mother's arm's dot at the mouth of the narrow bend. A figure touched the canyon wall with an open palm, the way you greet a friend you haven't seen in a long time. The mother didn't see a face, only a shape still and sure, with the posture of a person who has rehearsed the moment they would finally have the right to show up. The elder rose to his feet, the light catching the silver in his hair. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. The boy let go of the mother's hand and took one more step, his gaze steady, lit by a color that looked like every mile they had walked settling into place. And just as he drew breath to speak, his first word to the stranger who might be the end of this beginning, the canyon wind changed, carrying a different sound closer now, and human, the sudden echo of a voice calling from deeper in the passage, a voice that knew the boy's name before he knew it himself. The elder lifted his head. The mother's heart kicked once, hard. The figure at the wall turned. The boy's mouth formed a shape that could have been a smile or a cry. Then the echo broke into words that could rewrite every step they had taken or split the path beneath them in two. Echo swung back through the narrow turn and shaped itself into a name. The boy's name. It sounded like someone calling a child to come eat, and also like someone asking the past to answer for itself. The mother and the elder did not move. The boy's fingers closed on the carved hawk until the wood pressed a small wing against his palm. A figure stepped toward the light, slow, careful, like they wanted to give the moment time to breathe. It was not the man from the photograph. It was a woman around the mother's age, with a long braid and a small bundle slung over one shoulder. She raised a hand not to wave, but to show it was empty. "You came," she said to the elder first, in a voice that carried calm the way a bowl carries water. Then to the mother, "I am glad you were guided." She knelt so her eyes met the boy's eyes. The boy tilted his head, studying her. "You look like someone I know," the woman said, softly. "Not the same, but close enough to make my heart understand." The elder gave a small nod, asking without words if it was right to speak. The woman answered his nod the same way. "They are waiting," she said, "but not here, not yet. There are steps to take, and there is listening to do." The mother felt her throat tighten. "He called my son's name," she said, and she hated how fast hope rushed through that sentence, running ahead of her like a child who doesn't know the road yet. The woman's face softened. "Voices carry strange in these walls," she said. "What you heard is not a trick, but you will not hear it again today. We keep our word about time out here. There is a reason." She glanced at the elder. "I can bring them to the old camp by the cottonwoods, if that is agreed." "It is," the elder said. "We will do this with care." The woman led them along the bend. They did not go deeper into the canyon. They went sideways, along a path you wouldn't see unless your feet had learned it. The boy held the mother's hand with one hand and the carved hawk with the other. The woman spoke as they walked, not telling secrets, not claiming to tell everything, only putting small stones of truth where their steps could find them. "The man you hope to meet asked for a time apart," she said. "Not to hide, to be honest with himself, to stop running. He is nearby, he is not alone. When the drums stop tonight, he will rest. At first light, if the elders agree, we will bring you." The mother nodded because she could not trust her voice. The elder watched the boy's face as if the boy's face was a compass. The boy kept looking at the canyon edges, as if there were sentences written there. The old camp was a circle of cleared ground under smaller cottonwoods, with a low fire pit and a ring of stones that held warmth even after the sun moved. The woman set down her bundle and drew out a kettle, a tin of tea, cups that had been chipped and mended. She poured them water from a jug that sweated in the heat. "Sit," she said. "Drink. You came a long way." They drank. The tea tasted like earth remembering rain. The boy sipped and looked proud of himself for liking it. The woman watched him with a look that was not possessive and not distant, a look that understood. How a child stands on the thin bridge between what they know and what they hope to learn. "Your eyes," she said to him, not quite smiling. "They see forward and back. I have seen that before." The mother tucked the note tighter into her pocket, as if it might float away. "He wrote this," she said to the woman. "Or someone wrote it for him." The woman held out her hand, and the mother unfolded the paper. The woman did not touch it at first. She leaned in close, the way the elder had, and then she traced the edges of the words with a fingertip that didn't quite touch the ink. "Yes," she said, after a time. "Mostly his." "Not all. The last lines, those carry another hand too. Someone helped him say what he could not say alone. That is not wrong. It is only true." The elder looked at the woman. "He is steady?" he asked. "As steady as a man who is learning to be steady," she said. "He has not run." That is something worth saying out loud. They sat in a quiet that did not feel heavy. The wind moved the cottonwood leaves and made a soft, steady sound like a small drum far away. The desert, the river that was there and not there, the old path, everything seemed to be in the same room. Listening, the mother's thoughts wandered to a winter years ago. A roadside diner with coffee that could wake the dead and lights that flickered when the air conditioner kicked on. A young man came through the door with highway dust on his boots and a joke in his pocket he had not told yet. He ordered eggs and asked if the pie was worth the trouble. He did not sit like a man passing through. He sat like a man who had been told to sit and breathe. She remembered the small talk that wasn't small. How he asked questions to hear the answers. How he looked at the world like it was a map he wanted to read without folding. He told her he was working a winter crew and sleeping in a cheap room that smelled like old paint. He told her he liked the shape of the hills out this way. He told her he never stayed long, but he always promised himself he would. Someday that he kept coming back. Not every day. Not on a schedule. It wasn't a movie. It was two people trying to be human in the same room at the same time. He was bright, restless. He kept his hands busy even when he talked, rolling the paper wrapper from his straw into a tight spiral and then unwinding it again. He said he had a place that felt like home, but he had not figured out how to belong there without feeling small. He did not say why. She did not push. She learned his laugh. It filled the diner like heat on a cold morning. Then he was gone, the way road people go, with a note that said he had to fix something before he could be who he needed to be. No address, no timeline. The kind of promise that looks like hope, until you set it down and realize it does not weigh enough to hold. After the boy was born, the mother learned how heavy love can be when you have to carry it alone. She did it anyway. She learned to tell the boy the truth with simple words. I do not know where he is. I do not know when or if he will come. But your story is not missing. It is waiting. Back at the cottonwoods, the woman refilled their cups. He carved a lot of birds when he was young, she said, like she had taken the mother's memory and answered it. He said the work kept his hands from arguing with his heart. He left them under pillows and on fence posts and in pockets. People still find them, years later. Where did he learn? The boy asked, finally finding a question that could fit inside his mouth. His uncle taught him to carve, and also to listen, the woman said. Sometimes those are the same lesson. She turned to the elder. He asked me to tell you that the winter you remember was not lost. He carries it. It is part of why he is still here. The elder's eyes brightened and then steadied. Then we will carry him the rest of the way to this meeting, he said. The woman nodded, then looked at the mother. There is something you should know, so you are not surprised. When he left you, he thought he was protecting you. He was wrong to leave. I am not excusing the wound, but the shape of his mistake matters. He was afraid he would pass on a grief he hadn't learned to hold. He is trying to learn now. The mother closed her eyes for a moment. The word protecting hit its mark and left a bruise. He could have told me, she said. Yes, the woman said. He could have. He did not. That is part of the road between you. She paused, measuring the next words. Someone else does not want this meeting to happen easily. The rust on that tin box is old, but the soil around it was not. Another hand went before yours. We do not yet know whose. The elder's shoulders rose and fell with a slow breath. Jealousy? Fear? He asked. Maybe both, the woman said. Maybe just a person who believes that unfinished stories stay safer if you keep them unfinished. The boy looked from face to face, trying to understand why grown-ups make simple things hard. I just want to hear him talk, he said, like on the paper. I want to see if his voice sounds like that. It may, the woman said. It may sound tired. It may sound like someone learning a song they should have learned long ago, but it will be his. They ate bread from the bundle and a small jar of honey that tasted like sunlight. As the evening cooled, a few more people came by the camp, quiet, easy, stopping to greet the elder with a touch to the shoulder and the woman with a shared look that said the same thing without words. We are glad they came. We will do this right. No one asked the mother for her story before she was ready. No one stared at the boy. The circle made room without making a show of making room. The drums in the distance changed, not louder, just closer to stopping. The woman stood and listened with her head tilted, reading the rhythm the way some people read the weather. Soon, she said. Not now? Help me set places to rest. They unrolled 2 blankets near the warm stones. The boy pressed the carved hawk under his cheek and looked up at the night gathering itself. Will the stars here be the same as the ones at home? He asked. They will look the same and feel different, the elder said. Both can be. True. He settled near the fire pit, his back against a stone, his eyes steady on the paths leading in. Rest. I will wake you when it is time or when it is not time, whichever happens first. The mother lay on her side and watched the boys breathing slow. She wanted to ask a dozen questions and did not ask them. She wanted to forgive and could not yet. She wanted to be angry and could not hold it. The night pressed close but not heavy. The desert does not hide. It lets you see how far away things are and how close they can feel. She must have slept, because she woke to the faint scratch of something near her hand. She opened her eyes to a dim glow from the coals and the shape of the woman kneeling beside her. The woman held a small folded thin cloth wrapped around something firm. This was left at the edge of the camp. The woman whispered. No footfalls, just the gift. It is his work, but it was not set by his hand. The mother sat up, heart quick, not sure if the feeling was fear or hope or both. She opened the cloth. Inside lay another carving, smaller than the hawk, a tiny river stone with a mark on it like a simple eye. The kind a child draws. The woman turned the stone over. On the back, a circle had been cut with a line through it like a setting sun. The elder leaned in, eyes tired but sharp. That mark, he said. It belongs to the one who helped write the words you carry. It says, you are close. Keep your steps soft. Not everyone will be glad. The mother held the stone until its cool settled her hands. She looked over at her sleeping son, at the way his lashes lay on his cheeks, at the way his mouth had relaxed into the same shape it made when he listened to the drums under the ground. She knew nothing had been fixed. But she also knew that the story had more doors than she had been told. That, too, was something like hope. The night thinned. The first light did not come all at once. It gathered in a pale rim along the hills and then reached a finger into the camp, touching the carved bird in the boy's fist, the note in the mother's pocket, the elder's steady face. The drums had quieted long before. In their place came the small morning sounds of a place waking up bird wings, a kettle lid rattling, footsteps that did not hurry. The woman looked toward the canyon and then back at the mother. When we go, she said softly, we will go with respect. Say what you need to say. Listen more than you talk. If the truth is smaller than your heart, let your heart make room. If the truth is bigger, ask it to sit and share the table. The mother breathed once, deep, to steady what could not be steady yet. The boy stirred, and his eyes opened, clear. He sat up and looked at the small stone and then at the path. He did not smile. He did not cry. He did the simple, brave thing children do when a day arrives that might change their life. He stood. They had taken 3 steps toward the canyon when a shadow moved at the far edge of the camp. Not a person. Not an animal. A shape that came and went the way heat rises. The elder lifted a hand, asking for stillness. In that stillness, the wind curved and carried a single word that was almost too soft to hear. A word that could have been a name or a warning or both. The kind of word that makes a road fork in front of you even when you cannot see the split. The woman met the elder's eyes. He nodded once. She turned to the mother and the boy. Whatever we find there, she said, we will meet it standing. They stepped into the pale morning, toward the place where the river disappears, where voices come back as echoes and secrets decide whether to stay buried. And just before the canyon's mouth took their shadows in, the boy stopped, his gaze fixed on the ground. He crouched and touched the dust. There, pressed into the earth as if set down by a careful hand. In the dark was a third carving, a small wing, broken from a bird not yet finished, lying next to a single footprint facing the other way. The elder drew breath. The woman looked up to the ridge. The mother tightened her hold on the note, feeling the edges like the sides of a door. Someone had left in the night. Someone had changed the path, and the day that was supposed to begin. With one meeting was about to begin with a choice. The broken wing carving sat on the ground like a message that had been left, too soon or taken too late. The mother stared at it, her mind turning over questions faster than her heart could keep up. The boy crouched closer, brushing the dirt from around the footprint. The mark in the soil was sharp, fresh, pointing back toward the ridge, away from the canyon. Whoever had left it hadn't wanted to be found with them. Or maybe they had wanted to leave proof that they were still near. The elder studied the carving without touching it. "This isn't his hand," he said quietly. "Not the same weight. Not the same patience in the cuts. This is someone else's. Copying the style." He paused, then added, or trying to remind us of him. The woman bent low, her braids slipping forward. "The footprint is light," she said. "Not a man's. Maybe a younger one. Maybe someone carrying a secret for him, or against him." She glanced at the mother, her eyes steady. "It changes nothing about where we go, but it changes how we carry ourselves when we get there." The boy picked up the carving. The broken wing rested in his small palm, sharp at the edge where the wood had split. "It feels sad," he said. His voice was plain, the way only children can say truth without decoration. The mother wanted to take it from him, to hide it before it could press too deeply into his imagination. But she didn't. She let him hold it, because she had learned. Long ago, you can't protect a child from every shadow. Sometimes you only show them how to walk through it. They continued toward the canyon, though the path felt different now. Every stone, every sound carried the weight of being a clue. The mother could feel the air stretching thin, like a drum pulled tight. The boy stayed close to her side, and the elder kept his gaze sweeping the ridge's dot as they walked. The woman began to tell a story, not loudly, not as a distraction, but like a thread to keep them tethered. "Long ago," she said, "a man from our people carved birds for the children. Hawks, owls, sparrows. He gave them away when times were hard, so the children would feel like something still belonged to them. But when one of his birds broke, he always left it behind. He said broken wings had their own truth, but not one he could carry forward. They stayed where they were." The mother listened, her skin prickling. She thought of the broken wing in her son's hand and wondered if it had been left as a warning. The canyon narrowed, the light bending against the stone until it seemed to fold. The boy touched the elder's sleeve. "I hear it again," he whispered. The elder lifted his head. This time the sound was not a voice. It was the faint rhythm of a drum, slower than before, as if it came from beneath the earth itself. It pulsed 3 times and then stopped. "That is not them," the elder said. "That is someone answering from a place they shouldn't." The woman frowned. "A challenge," she said. "Or a lure." The mother gripped her son's shoulder. Her heart raced at the thought of walking into a trap. Yet another part of her, quiet but steady, told her that the only way through was forward. If the note had been true, if the words she carried in her pocket still belonged to the man who left them, then the truth waited ahead. But the conflict grew sharper with every step. She realized now she wasn't only afraid of what she might find. She was afraid of what her son might lose if the man turned out not to be the one she remembered, not the one who wrote the words with such care. She had carried hope long enough to know how heavy disappointment could be. The boy looked up at her. "If he's there, I want to ask why," he said simply. "Why he didn't stay. Why he didn't come for us." Her throat ached. "And if he doesn't answer?" The boy closed his fingers around the broken wing. "Then I'll keep the bird. Even broken wings can fly in stories." The elder's eyes glistened at that. He nodded, as if the boy had just said something worth remembering for years. They came to a curve where the canyon opened wider, revealing a plateau with scattered brush and another cottonwood clinging to stone where no tree should have lived. The air smelled faintly of smoke, but no fire was visible. The woman raised her hand. "We stop here," she said. "From this point, we are seen before we see. Let them show themselves first." The mother pulled her son close. She scanned the ridge for movement, her pulse sharp in her ears. A hawk circled overhead, its cry cutting the silence. For a moment, she thought it might be another sign, but the elder spoke low. "The hawk hunts. It doesn't wait for us. Do not mistake one truth for another." They waited. Long minutes stretched. The boy shifted on his feet, restless but quiet. Then, from the far side of the plateau, a figure appeared. Taller than the woman, broad-shouldered, with hair tied back and a staff in one hand. He moved with the slow certainty of someone who had been here before, who knew every crack in the stone. The mother's breath caught. It wasn't the man from her photograph. She knew that at once. But the staff he carried was carved, its top shaped into the wings of a bird. The elder straightened. "Not him," he murmured. "But someone close." The figure stopped a dozen paces away and planted the staff in the ground. He looked at the mother, then at the boy. His voice carried clear across the plateau. "You came for answers. But answers aren't given. They're traded. Are you ready to give something in return?" The mother stiffened. "Who are you?" she asked. The man's gaze didn't waver. The one who kept his word safe when he couldn't. The one who made sure the boy would not forget. The boy stepped forward before his mother could stop him. "Do you know my father?" The man's face shifted, a shadow of grief passing across it. He tapped the staff against the stone once. "I knew the man you are asking about. I walked with him when he was running, and I stayed when he couldn't. I helped him put words on paper when his hand shook. If you hold that note, you hold something I wrote with him." The mother's heart pounded. This was the hand the woman had spoken of, the one that finished the words. But why was he here? Why had he left the carving at the camp? Why step forward now, instead of letting the man himself appear? "You said answers are traded," the elder said. "What do you ask in return?" The man's eyes lifted to the sky. "Truth," he said simply. "Yours is mine. No one walks away clean if they refuse to tell it." The mother's chest tightened. She had not prepared to bear her own truth, only to hear his. She thought of the boy beside her, of the broken wing still in his hand, and of the note in her pocket. She wondered if this was what the whole journey had always been pointing toward, not just reunion, but reckoning. The man struck the staff once more. The sound echoed like a drumbeat. "He is close," he said. "But if you meet him without giving your own story first, you will see a shadow, not a man. And shadows cannot carry children." The boy looked up at his mother, waiting. The elder placed a steady hand on her shoulder, grounding her. The woman with the braid kept her eyes on the ridges, watchful, as if she knew others were listening. The mother took a breath, feeling the air burn sharp in her lungs. She knew the man was right. She had carried silence like armor for too long. If she wanted her son to meet his father as more than a ghost, she would have to step into the open with her own scars. But just as she parted her lips to speak, another sound broke across the plateau, a second staff striking stone from somewhere unseen. The echo doubled, the air vibrating. The man's face tightened, and he looked to the canyon rim. "They are here," he said. "And not all of them want this meeting to happen." The mother froze. The boy's small hand tightened on hers. The elder's eyes narrowed, scanning the shadows. The path forward had just split again, and this time the choice might not belong to them. The second staff struck again, its echo crawling along the canyon walls like thunder that had lost its sky. The sound felt different than the first, sharper, heavier, as if it wanted to cut rather than call. The boy pressed against his mother's side, his hand tightening around the broken wing carving. She pulled him close, but her eyes stayed fixed. On the ridges above, waiting for shapes to move, the man with the carved staff shifted his weight, his jaw hardening. "They followed," he said under his breath. "I told him this would happen." There are those who believe silence protects more than truth ever can. The elder's gaze was steady, but there was no hiding the storm behind it. Then the truth must be spoken louder than their silence, he said. His words hung in the air like a line that could not be walked back. The woman with the braid touched the boy's shoulder gently, as though reminding him he was not alone. But her eyes were scanning every shadow, every ledge. The canyon suddenly felt too narrow, as if the walls themselves were leaning in. Listening. Another strike came, this one closer, and then a voice carried down from the ridge low, commanding, meant to settle fear into the bones of anyone who heard it. "Leave the boy. Take nothing more with you." The mother's heart hammered. The words weren't shouted, but they carried the weight of someone who believed they had the right to decide. She instinctively wrapped her arm tighter around her son, her nails digging into his shirt. The man with the carved staff raised his chin toward the voice. "He is not yours to claim," he called back, his tone fierce but controlled. "He has his own path. We are here because promises were made, not because you can unmake them." The reply came like stone breaking. Promises break. Blood does not. The boy's eyes widened, and the mother felt his breath catch. The elder's hand brushed hers, steady, urging her not to let panic take her voice. Another shadow appeared. At the rim, tall, unmoving, holding a staff of their own. The sun cut behind them, throwing their figure into a dark outline, faceless but powerful. They struck the stone once more, and the sound cracked the silence like lightning. The mother swallowed hard. Her mind raced with questions. Who were they? What did they mean about blood, and how long had they been watching? But she knew the boy could feel her fear. She tried to steady her breathing, to anchor herself in the rhythm of his small heartbeat. Against her ribs, the elder stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "If you wish to stop this, then come down and speak. Do not hide behind echoes. Let the boy see your face if you believe you have the right to say his name." For a long moment, there was only wind. Then footsteps sounded on the ridge, slow and deliberate, coming closer. Dust loosened and drifted down. The woman with the braid reached into her bundle, pulling out a length of cloth and knotting it tight around her wrist, as if preparing for something she had long expected. The man with the carved staff leaned toward the mother. This is the moment they try to turn him against what he's come for. Don't let their words take root. They will speak like they know him better than you. But he listens to you more than anyone else. Remember that. The mother nodded, though her throat was dry. She touched the boy's cheek, forcing herself to meet his eyes. "Whatever you hear, you are mine," she whispered. "And you will always belong to yourself before anyone else." The boy nodded slowly, his lips pressing into a line, the broken wings still hidden in his palm. The figure on the ridge stepped into view at last. Their face was lined with years, their eyes hard as stone. They carried themselves like someone who had carried authority for too long to remember what it was like not to. "You walk with lies," the figure said, their voice cutting through the air. "You carry the shadow of a man who abandoned what was his. You think you can bring him back into the circle without cost? You think this boy's eyes do not show the truth already? He belongs here, not with her." The words slammed into the mother like a blow. She opened her mouth to protest, but the elder raised his hand slightly, signaling her to wait. The boy looked between them all, confusion written across his face. His voice, small but clear, broke the silence. "I don't belong to anyone. I'm not something you can take." The plateau went still. Even the wind seemed to pause. The figure on the ridge frowned, their jaw tightening. The elder's eyes softened with pride, but he didn't speak. Another shadow appeared beside the figure on the ridge, smaller, younger, hesitant. They carried no staff, only a bundle of feathers tied with twine. They looked down at the boy with an expression that wasn't anger, but sorrow. The man with the carved staff drew a sharp breath. "It's him," he whispered. The mother's heart lurched. She couldn't see clearly, but the outline, the posture, it was too familiar to mistake. The boy leaned forward, squinting, as if some part of him already knew before his mind could catch up. The elder's voice came low, meant only for them. "He's here, but he is not free to stand yet. They hold him in their shadow. This is the last step before choice." The boy's hand shook in his mother's grasp. "I want him to talk to me," he said, "not through them, not behind them. To me." The woman with the braid stepped forward, her eyes never leaving the ridge. "Then that is what must happen. But know this, when he speaks, the truth will cut. And once cut, it cannot be uncut." The mother's breath caught, fear and hope tangling inside her until she couldn't tell which was stronger. She could feel the story pulling towards something sharp, something that would not leave them the same. The figure on the ridge lifted their staff high, as if to silence the moment, but before the strike could fall, the younger shadow stepped forward, away from the older one, their voice carrying down the canyon. The sound of it made the boy's eyes widen, made the mother's knees weaken, made the elder's face turn solemn. It was a voice she remembered, a voice she had thought she would never hear again, and it spoke a single word, the boy's name. The canyon held its breath. The mother did too. The next heartbeat would decide everything. That was beautifully written. It feels like the story came full circle, and you've brought it to a heartfelt resolution. The imagery of the riders, the firelit nights, and the child's final word. Father gives it the weight of both survival and love, and the ending on the simple truth, "I was hungry." I knocked, and the door opened. Ties everything together with such human honesty. If you'd like, I can help you refine this ending so it flows seamlessly with the earlier suspenseful sections. You asked me to write "Making the Shift," from mystery and tension into warmth and resolution smoother without losing the emotional intensity.